Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today we are thinking about immigrating in middle school. That is a thinker. And luckily, I have Marina here who's going to help us think about this in a whole new way. So thank you so much, Marina, for coming onto my show, sharing your time and your perspective with me. This is such an exciting topic. So let's just dive right in. When you hear the phrase immigrating in middle school, what does that make you think about?
Horror because I lived it. Um, and now that I have a daughter of the same middle school age, I just think back and go, oh my God, how did we do this? Because it's a lot going on at that age. Um,
Yes.
and throw on a new culture and a new language and whew.
It's it really makes you or break you. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like I never really immigrated from a country, but I went to like 7 different middle schools.
Oh
You know what I mean?
wow. Middle school.
So yes, just middle schools alone. And there's only 2 years in middle schools. I mean, for at least in my time, it was only two. Now it's like three. There's like six,
Yeah,
seven,
three to
you know.
four depending on the yeah.
Yeah, depending on the
Purpose.
district and
Uh-huh.
area, but mine area, it was only two. So yeah, for 2 grades, I was moving around from one side of the states to another, to
Oh,
up and down in the state and all over, flipped it, reversed it. I even did homeschooling for a while too. So yes,
so you
it's a
get it.
hot. Yeah, oh yeah, I most definitely get it. It's a hot mess. It's a hot mess. People are mean to you. There's bullies. People don't understand you, or they're jealous of you, or they're just like they don't like the way that you talk. They don't like the way that you're eating. Oh my goodness, it's no fun. It is not a fun time. So for you, how did you manage it um when you did all this moving around?
So, I come from the country known as Belarus, which was part of the former Soviet Union,
Okay.
and we came here as Jewish refugees in early to mid 90s, whatever you consider 94 to be. And we settled in Brooklyn, and I knew exactly, I don't know, maybe a total of 20 words in English. I was 11, almost 12, so I was placed in seventh grade, which also
Okay.
made me skip a grade because in Belarus I completed five, and here they placed me by age into seventh. I'm like, oh, great! Now there's also going to be a content gap. Terrific. Um,
Right?
it was really, really terrifying because everybody around you, when you're at that age, no matter where you're immigrating from, everybody tells you that it's so easy because you're a kid. And kids are just sponges and you'll pick it up through osmosis. You don't have to do anything, just be. And when you don't miraculously wake up speaking fluent English, you feel like there's something wrong with you.
Right?
Um, so luckily, and maybe not so, we were part of a fairly large immigration wave. So there were a lot of kids like me, which you would think would help, but it didn't because you're also at that age where, like, as soon as they uh, like acclimated a bit, they didn't want your new off fresh off the boat cooties. So they're like, nope, she's not with us. And then there's everybody else whose language I do not understand but desperately want to.
Yes, it's
Um,
it's that discrimination, like that internal discrimination. Like, oh, how dare you discriminate? We're supposed to be people. I mean, we're supposed to be some type of same people, and you're discriminating against me. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
I feel like that's often done within like your own kind of culture. Um,
Yeah.
like I studied immigration history and like I know when like German Jews assimilated in the United States and then Polish and Russian Jews came and they're like, no, 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 not your cooties. Like we're like legit now and don't bring your peasant ways here. So I feel like we still do that within different communities and different cultures. And it's especially hard at that age, at that middle school, tweeny, teeny age where you don't know who you are. You're so fragile and you have to put up this giant facade and which means nothing. And it's just a lot. I feel like in high school we kind of formed a little bit more,
Mhm.
so we're not as threatened.
Yeah.
But at that like 11, 12, 13, oh, what a nasty age.
It was
Um,
awkward. Yeah, for
so
everyone.
I used to, oh my God, I so the way I came to growing up, that
Mm.
year was so hard for me. Um, I missed 41 days of school.
Oh, wow.
Um, and my mom knew about it. I mean, not that she like kept track or anything, but if she
Mm.
just knew how much I hated it, and if I woke up and said, "Oh, I have a headache," she'll be like, "Oh yeah." And I guess there were so many of us, and schools were so inundated that nobody even called or got worried until like the end of the year. And I was miraculously just by guessing making decent grades. So they're like, it's fine. We have bigger fish to fry. It's like, it's fine. Um, so growing up, I would always say that if I had to relive my life, I would surgically remove that year because so much trauma and like shame, I felt like ashamed. I was attached to it. And then I wrote a book about my first year in America, year one, because it's, my foundational year. And I spent so much time with my 11, 12-year-old self that now I'm like, that's the year that made me. Like,
Yes.
that's truly what made me. I would not have survived without Family Matters on TV, and I would not have survived truly without Michael Jackson because that's all I listened to. Michael Jackson's Thriller, not
Yeah.
Thriller, what am I saying? I didn't get Thriller until 95. I worked my way backwards. Um, it was Dangerous. And then when I got $10 from my parents, I got Bad. And then when I got another $10, I got Thriller. So I kind of worked backwards. But Dangerous was truly my lifeline. Um, I would come home, I wouldn't understand my homework, so I had to wait for my father to come home from work and spend half the night translating it with me. And I would just listen to music. Of course, I wouldn't understand most of it, so it was just music and completely new sounds that I wasn't used to. And I just loved the ambience, everything about it. And then once I started understanding or getting access to lyrics, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible vocabulary. So I also learned English through it in part. So those were truly like my two lifelines was TV and music. I would not have survived seventh grade without it.
No, I don't blame you because it's art, you know what I mean? And people don't realize art is a way to express yourself and to escape reality. And you were able to find that. You maybe at the time you weren't paying attention to it. You know what I mean? Because I mean, come on, let's be honest. You know what I mean? You even said it. If I could have erased that whole year, a whole section of my life and redo it, I would. But then you realize like, wow, that held so much value because that was a stepping stone to where I am today. That's what literally evolved me, that my clay, they knocked it out of me, you know what I mean, to make you this
Yeah.
woman that you are today. And I say that to myself too, you know what I mean? Because oh my goodness, it was very relatable hearing your story because going to school and just whenever your mom didn't care, like, okay, if you want to show up, show up. If you don't. It doesn't matter. School's not gonna check up on you. And if they do, it was just like, oh, okay. Are you alive though? You know what I mean? It's just like, are you alive though? And just making it by I feel the same way. I don't even know how I continued on and moved forward because my mom did not care if I showed up or not. I remember not going to the first days of school for the first like 3 years in a row. You know what I mean? They were like, "Where's Mitzi?" And people were like, "Oh, she'll come later, whenever." You know what I mean? Like whenever Mitzi showed up at school, it was just because it was time to have fun or because I got tired of being home. But escaping into just art, I mean, that's a great way to just find that freedom. And then the fact that it was able to help you learn English and to evolve it and to understand words in a different way. I mean, that's something that really no one can take away from you, you know? And it's like for me, I didn't have art, but I mean, I did have art. My art was books. Like I
Mhm.
doubt I had an English teacher who was like, you need to read this book, and I was just like, I never had to read a book before. Like, but I knew how to read, but I never had to like actually read a book
Yeah.
for a book assignment. You know what I mean? And he was just like, just read the book, Mitzi. If you're gone tomorrow, at least you read a couple of chapters. And I was like, okay, thank you. So then
What
I
book was it?
read
Do you remember?
I have no idea, but I can tell you that it was about this world of people. They were trapped in like this dome, and they weren't able to see color. You know what I mean? They
Huh.
weren't able to see any type of color at all. So there was this little boy trying to figure out what was color, what was the point of color, because everything was black and white in their city. Like it,
Wow,
yeah, and
that sounds amazing.
yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like that's what got me into reading. That's what got me into writing. And because of that book, and it created this visual, like, huh, imagine if you couldn't see color, and I would look at color so much more differently, and I would just be amazed by it. So it's like, thankfully, that English teacher brought me a whole.
Oh,
I wasn't even able to finish the book because we already moved to our next city, into our next town already. So I couldn't finish it, and I don't even remember the title, but I do remember that section, and I knew that he was getting to the point where he was actually gonna find a way to get out, because he was able to find a glimpse of color past like a glimmer of no realizing that he was in a dome. Like he was eventually figuring it all out. And I was just like, oh my God, I gotta know more. But then I never found the book. I was
ooh,
never finding the author. Have no idea who wrote it, but it was an assignment and I read it, and that's as far as I got. But I do agree with you. It is really interesting because you never really know what's gonna make you until you go through it and look
yeah.
back and realize, wow, that was a really defining moment.
Yeah,
So it's
like
like,
that opened you up to reading.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Right.
for you, have there ever been any moments where you were able to sit with your child and be like, you know what, this is a hard time, but you'll become better for it?
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like we don't truly learn until we go through it ourselves.
Yes.
So no matter how many times I say, this sucks, it's hard, but trust me, like we all feel like that to different degrees because we
Yeah.
go through different situations and with different people, but you will get through it. But it's hard. Like, it's hard to learn on someone else's mistakes. Like, you got to make
Yeah.
them yourself.
Yeah.
But I actually wanted to follow up on what you said about reading. Uh,
Yeah.
so because I came here without, like, I had 1 year of foreign language English, like class, like I'd
Yeah.
be able to say like, my name is Marina, the book is on the table. Like I could count
Yeah.
20. It was amazing. Um, so we had a neighbor in our first apartment building who used to be an English teacher in the former Soviet Union in I think she came from Uzbekistan. And she recommended reading fairy tales because
Oh.
fairy tales are fairly universal and you know the content. So maybe you could focus on the actual words and the structure. So those were my first English books. And then somebody recommended that I try to read Sweet Valley High.
Sweet Valley High. I don't think I saw
Remember
that one.
those series with the blonde twins?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I got you. I know. I know what you're talking about. Yes, I remember those.
So I borrowed a book from the school library and
Uh-huh.
I spent like the day trying to translate the first paragraph and none of it was making sense. So that went out the window. And
Yeah.
then in my ESL class, the teacher would assign Jack London stories. And she would let us borrow the book for the night, for people like me who were perfectionists without an outlet. Like I wanted to be
Mm-hmm.
prepared, but I couldn't be. So it was like this vicious cycle. And my father and I would sit and translate and work on it. To this day, I cannot stand Jack London. Like I'm so traumatized. Like I have a little free library by my house, and sometimes I get donations of Jack
Mm,
London. I've gotten
mm,
three. I'm like, is this a sign? Like, is the universe like telling me it's like, no, go back to Jack London. You should reread it now as a fluent reader. Oh my God, all those spoiled eggs in Alaska. Oh, like my, but the first book I read in English fully confidently as an eighth grader
uh-huh.
was Waiting to Exhale. Do
Waiting to exhale.
you remember the movie with Whitney Houston
Uh-huh.
in mid 90s? You're probably younger than me, so you probably don't. But it was initially a book, and it was not even remotely appropriate for a 13-year-old.
Oh, I remember that movie now.
with like Angela
Okay.
Bassett, Whitney Houston,
Yes, yes, yes,
and
yes,
it
yes,
was
yes.
wildly inappropriate.
Yeah.
But I was so happy that I could read it. And
I bet you were.
and instead of the original cover, they now were reselling it with the movie cover. So that's
Oh,
how I
okay.
discovered it. And again, my like I stopped crying by then because seventh grade, I cried from September to like roughly like April every day.
Ooh.
So
Ooh.
they were just so happy that I wasn't crying and I was making good grades and just, peppy again,
Crying.
that they were like, oh, cool, whatever this is. They didn't know what the hell I was reading. Boy, was it inappropriate. But that was my
Oh my
first
goodness.
truly like read cover to cover book in English.
You know what? Your story is really interesting because usually when people say that they've immigrated from out here, I mean from wherever, and then they out here to the United States, usually they say that the first thing that they watch to help them learn English is Sesame Street. Like I've heard like people like a lot of people from Central America and Mexico and South America,
Yeah.
they always say that the best way that they learned English was through Sesame Street.
So for me, on the days when I didn't go to school, I discovered PBS, but I only watched Barney, the purple dinosaur.
Oh.
And then after Barney, I think there was Thomas the Train aired, and I'm like, no, no, I'm just too mature for talking trains. Talking like purple dinosaur is fine, but talking trains is where I draw the line. I
Yeah.
did not know about Sesame Street. I like
Oh,
randomly, because we came in the summer, so I had a lot of downtime before school year started. I tried watching soap operas because apparently that's a good way to learn too, because the action is
yeah.
so slow and it's repeated a lot.
Yeah.
For some reason I couldn't get into it. And then I discovered Family Matters. And
Mm.
I got so into it. I loved Steve Urkel. Of course, I was confused at first because I thought, because he was over that house so much, I thought he was one of the siblings. And then,
Yeah.
but why is he chasing his sister? Like, this is weird. And
Yeah.
then I finally started teasing out the words closed captions. Closed captions made a world of a difference.
Oh, absolutely. To be honest, we weren't allowed to watch Family Matters because my grandmother, she hated Steve Urkel. Like she hated him. Like
It's the voice.
it like bothered him to her soul. She would curse at us like, oh my goodness, it was such a, and she only spoke Spanish, and it just bothered her so just to hear him, just to see him. Like, yeah, Steve, Family Matters was not allowed on
Oh,
our in
no.
our house, but that is so funny. But it's like after everything and after you lived your life, why decide to write your book?
So I've been sitting on my story for a while. I've always wanted to write, and I did write literary fiction before this, and I would always have a character, even if it wouldn't be a primary topic of the story, but there would always be a character who would be an immigrant. But I've been sitting on my first year story for a long time. I know we all immigrants, we all have our own path, and we all share a lot of common denominators, even if we come from different cultures and countries. But I felt like my story did have some unique aspects of it. Like my sister stayed behind, which created a huge rift in my family. And this was also mid 90s where we didn't have Skype or all these easy methods of communication. It was
Yeah.
complete like so I wrote and rewrote the first chapter for probably a good decade. And I had a friend from high school who would occasionally tell me, no, I would want to read that. I would want to read that. And they kept ringing. I had that ringing in my head. And just after the pandemic, I was like, I want to sit with this. And because I have very crystallized like memories of that year, I guess because it was so vital to
Impactful,
me,
yeah.
that like my memories are crystal clear. Um, so I started writing things down and I found it so cathartic and so therapeutic, honestly, better than therapy. I fictionalized it like very lightly, very thinly, just to preserve privacy for different people and
Yeah,
just to make
out
the
of
narrative flow
respect.
here and there. But um, all of the things did happen the way they described. And I just honestly, I think it changed me. It's getting good reviews from people, good response from people from different ages and cultures as well, because younger people relate to it in a way of like, oh, I grew up in the same time. And then older generation sees themselves as parents to this younger character. So it's interesting. But I think it also changed me. Like I think I'm kinder to myself and to those around me because I feel like I've upset with this child that I've been trying to shut up for the longest time
Yeah.
because she was this, I saw her as inept and somebody who took so much of her father's time, um, and who just couldn't learn fast enough. And like, I guess that translated to other areas of my life. And I feel like sitting with it really changed something. It unlocked something.
Oh, absolutely. It made you realize that you were only doing the best that you could in the time that you were given and the opportunities that you were given and what you knew. And at the end of the day, that is nothing no one can really blame you. You know what I mean? And if they want to blame you, it's because of their own ignorance and they don't understand. But anybody who's a real human being and understands the fact that shit just happens, you know what I mean? And you're given whatever you're given, but it's what you do with it. And you were determined, you know what I mean? And you made a difference. You may have thought like, oh, I was a nag, but maybe that was a beautiful moment in your father's eyes to actually spend that time with you because he could have denied you. He could have pushed you away. You know what I mean? So it's just like
It
at the same
was, yeah,
time, it's a bonding moment. And as a parent, when I have these moments with my son, it's like I you know what I mean, I have these moments where I teach him and I focus and I give him that attention, yeah, it may take time out of my regular schedule, but it brings value for that moment, you know what I mean? So it's just like nothing goes in vain, really, you know what I mean? We think things go in vain all the time, but in time it really reveals to us that nothing truly goes in
yeah,
vain, because what offense in one season of our life is wisdom in the next, you know what I mean? But we don't allow ourselves to see that because we dismiss the old saying, time heals all wounds. But because time doesn't always heal wounds if you don't allow your perspective to shift, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And when you allow your perspective to shift through time, then you allow yourself to give you this grace that you always had, but you just didn't know how to access it, you know what I mean? And it sucks because I feel like time is really catching up to us. And I feel like we could keep
yeah.
diving down this rabbit hole. You know what I mean? Let's be honest. But like, what can be some lasting words that you can leave us off with to keep on thinking?
Just be kind to yourself and be kind to this sensitive tween age because I feel
Yeah.
like our voices is I think all children in general, but particularly immigrant situations where parents are busy trying to
Yeah.
provide and a lot of pressure is on them, and it's very easy to dismiss the child because you're not the one who has to pay the bills. You have nothing to
Yeah.
worry about. And that creates a wall. And I feel like that was another reason why I wanted to write, to show that don't take us for granted. Our fears are real, our struggles are real, and if you don't help us deal with them, we don't have the tools. We're too young to have the tools. And if you just tell us there is nothing wrong, you're basically gaslighting a whole generation.
Oh, Lordy, yes. That's so true. I mean, we don't realize that these children, and these teens, they have so much value in what they're processing life and how they're viewing the world. Because how they view the world at this age, when they become adults,
Hmm.
that would impact their viewpoint. So it's just like we got to remember one day they're going to be an adult. And to be honest, they're going to have a longer adult lifehood than a childhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So because of that understanding, I mean, I understand, I value these children. I value teens. I value the youth because they will really make our next generation. They will impact the world in such a way. So yes, I truly value those words. I think you said it on the nail. So thank you so much, Marina. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know more about Marina, because how could you not? How could you not after this conversation? Please, I have access to her website so that you can find this amazing book and so that you can continue on thinking. If you're listening audio, or in the YouTube, in the description, you find access to her website, access to all of the goodness that she has to the world, so that you can continue on thinking, ladies and gentlemen. So with that being said, bye.